a story. I'm sorry if it seems a bit boring, but these are stories of fathers whose lives are being destroyed way too early. It all started when I opened my mouth, complained about a stupid mistake. I knew better than to have more to say. I did it anyway. I'm a father and a husband. I'm no longer trusted. They have taken away the things I hold dear, making me realize my biggest fear. The foundation, it has crumbled. Now there is tears where there was muscles. So now I waste away, missing my daughter as she plays. I am guilty of nothing. When I was a dad, I was something. These people passing judgment have no right to say I'm a bad father, get away. This place no longer for you to stay. I don't wanna see you here, never again will I hear, hey daddy, come play with me. I need you to make some tea. I shed a tear looking at her smile I won't see for a while. Now as days pass by, the tears have dried from my eyes. All that's left is the memories of that beautiful smile. So thank you for passing judgment. You people don't know nothing. To that little girl I was something, and you took it all away. So thank you for passing judgment. You people don't know nothing.
Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS, CPS, and so on custody. The reality is their pics are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title IV says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the line.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you kidnapped.
Hello and Merry Christmas to everybody. We are CPS Victims Fighting Justice, Christmas edition tonight, guys. I got Gunnar with me. Darren will be joining us at 7:45. He's tied up at the moment. So bear with us. Let me get the chat. Make sure the chat's up there. It is. I hope you all had a very good Christmas.
It's an AR style
Good
cup.
Christmas dinner.
It's an M16 style cup.
That's cool. I like that.
How we doing, Gunnar?
Love you very much. Hope you had a very, very good Christmas. Daddy loves you, and Daddy's working on things. We're hoping to get things fixed. This will be the last Christmas apart. Love you.
Hi guys, good to meet you.
Me too.
That's the kids.
Nice to see you again. This is Uki.
Oh, and there's Uki.
This is my
I
child.
guess Gunner's having a video visit. That's awesome.
Merry Christmas.
There you go. I will show that. to
There's
them
Vinny.
tomorrow.
I'm gonna hold her for a few minutes before she has to go over.
How we doing, Gunner?
We
Are
still
you
backstage.
with you?
Yeah,
Nope,
she's-
no, we are live, buddy.
You ain't got no voice, man. Your mic's off.
What?
You have to.
No way.
Zach. Going for them, not going.
Can you hear me now? Awesome, awesome. All right, so as I said, welcome all. We are CPS Victims Hunting for Justice, Christmas edition.
Has he
I
never
want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I hope you had a good morning and good afternoon and a good Christmas dinner.
married?
Darren will be joining us at about 7:45. He's a little tied up at the moment. So he will be joining in. I sent the link out to a couple others. We'll see if they join us as well. So Gunnar, any news on the home front from you?
I don't remember it.
We're just trying to get things done. We had a little non-traditional, so I had most of my family over yesterday. They kind of popped up a little bit, so kind of dwindling in a few things. So they're making their rounds to the other side with the things for now. So we've spent the day. My oldest daughter had to work. She works in a hospital. She's actually going to be a surgical assistant for one of the top 10 heart surgeons in the country.
Oh, wow.
So she got an internship and everything and schooling for it, full ride, everything for it. Of course, we have Sharon here with us here on Christmas. So we're spending Christmas
Merry
a little together,
Christmas.
Vinny.
Well, hello.
Hi, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Other than that, we've been finishing some ongoing projects with some remodeling. The boys have mainly been painting and everything else. And, I don't do too much, but I can still do those minor drywall touch-ups, to just kind of get it just flat and stuff like that they don't have that skill set for yet. So I come through and do a little of the drywall mud and a little sand, and they come through and I show them how to cut. I'm doing some teaching, passing on some things between me and my future son-in-law, and then my son. He's just turned 18, so he got baptized on how to do some painting a little bit better. It's a skill that we all need to learn, so we don't have to pay somebody.
That's right.
Every single time when we're younger. But learning as we go how to tape things off for certain things and this and that. But like I said, that's about all I do, other than some minor cutting in that fine stuff, because I've been doing it for so long. I don't even need tape. I just cut it in by hand with a tapered brush.
Yeah.
So once again, that's mastering your trades and skills. So
I was reading in a couple of the groups today, kind of here and there, but it seems that we're starting to pick up the pace even more. We are starting to see some results out of what we're doing. According to a couple of the groups that I've been reading in, some of the kids are starting to come home.
Yeah.
These judges are getting called out on their corruption.
they're
So
getting
we
sued
are,
left and right. People,
Yeah.
when we've exposed the fact that you wonder what happened to your constitutional rights, and then all of a sudden they're educated, that court doesn't have the authority. So if your rights have been violated, then yes, then you have to go to a federal courtroom, change jurisdiction, stop your immediate CPS case, go to a federal jurisdiction. I had illegal entry. Did you have a warrant to come in, or a court order or anything else? No. Why are you fighting in state courts? And I think that's been the biggest thing I've seen, is that education of, you're fighting in the wrong place. There's no wonder you're losing all the time.
Hey, brother.
People are wising up to it also, of like holding them accountable, like, damn, now I'm going to federal court and you're getting in trouble and you're getting in trouble. And, they know this next administration is going to stop a lot of this Title IV funding. It's
Yep.
going to get funded.
Yep. Yeah, and I just seen a post also that Trump is coinciding of Biden pardoning these people that were convicted on death row, right? Well, Trump now is going against that, and he is making it so that all the people that are on death row are going to have the death penalty.
Listen, we've exhausted a lot of things. I think with modern technology, DNA evidence, all these other things and stuff like that, is things possible? Yes. The issue I have, even with, we have a case here locally, it deals with a murder charge of a police officer. And it was by somebody that was a previous felon or anything else with anything else, but it was a traffic stop. And it was over just swerving. There was no cars on the road, no oncoming traffic, no nothing. I mean, they've released the footage and everything else of it. But basically, it just came down to just somebody had a power tripping because they knew he was a convict. It was abusing a convict. There was nobody was in harm's way. Nobody got damaged. Nobody got hurt, and pulled him over. And then come the one-liner of, "Oh, I smell marijuana in your car." Well, good. I'm glad you can prove that in court, because how can you bottle air? You have to have justifiable reason, or what's your reasonable articulated suspicion? Well, you were swerving. Well, I'm fine. I don't need this. And he was going through of just saying, "Hey, I was fixing something in here." And it wasn't the fact he was drunk or anything like that. Matter of fact, he was just coming back from a thing, and from one town to another and in between. And basically what happened is, when he was just like, I don't consent to the seizures or searches and all the other stuff going on. Basically, and then they lit him up with basically a taser. And I know there's rules and regulations, but that dude, when you watch the video, they laid on the taser. I mean, I would be in fear for my life if you laid on that damn taser that damn long. So a lot of it is going to come down to, once again, it's going to be a federal thing if he's smart. Just due to the fact of, how can you prove marijuana and how did you escalate? Because police are supposed to de-escalate. The idea is to de-escalate and to protect and to serve. It wasn't that it was thing. It was just, it was another traffic ticket. He wasn't even driving a car that was his to even come around with it. But it's just the gross overstep of the police department. There was no crime going on. You created the incident. I am sorry that, like I said, an officer was killed and another one was injured. But once again, half of this is stuff that constitutionally you shouldn't be doing this.
See, and that's I agree with you there, because that's where I beg to differ with my arrest. Because you know what? When they first originally arrested me, supposedly I was arrested on the PFA violation. Right. Well, did you have the proof that I had violated that PFA by coming on the property? No, you did not. Did you have video of me coming on this property? No, you did not. Did you have video of me being found at this property? No, you did not. So how can I violate something that I never violated, and then you have an arrest warrant that I never see?
Yeah. See, here's the funny thing. Here's the other thing states are doing illegally that we've also uncovered as well, is that half of these arrests, they're not supposed to be arrested, because to be arrested, you have to be indicted.
See, and that's what they said. I was indicted on the charges.
Then where's the indictment that was passed down along with the warrant that came with it? Then that is supposed to be delivered with a viable warrant in hand.
And I didn't. And there was none of that.
So we lied and we got away with it.
Yep.
See, this is the problem. You're manipulating a system to shoot. And that's why half of this stuff and this crap with this thin blue line shit, it may have one thing, but another. Don't lie to somebody. People can make mistakes and things happen. But the problem is you're doing half the stuff with a lot of our law enforcement. I don't think they realize it either, is you're not supposed to even constitutionally be doing this. You're working for a corporation, enforcing codes and statutes that are only for commercial only. That's the big problem that I have, is like, hey, that's commercial. Well, I'm not commercial. I'm private. I'm individual. Or the same thing with CPS. With that stuff, they've kind of wrote their own things. Hey, we have a right to come into your house. No, you don't. The
No,
Fourth
you have the
Amendment
right
is
to stay the fuck
very
out of my
clear.
house.
Well, and the thing is, Vinny, is that the federal case law on the Fourth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, as far as entry by a state or any government official or representative or elected actor, elected or appointed or an actor, is not allowed to. Matter of fact, they're very strict.
Yep.
And once it comes out, and like I said, every state that we've shown that we publish is putting the fact that they have a right to bypass your Fourth Amendment right and to come in your home under the name of children. And it's already been ruled after COVID-19, under no circumstance is the Constitution ever suspended, ever. Even in the time of war, pandemic, epidemic, it doesn't matter. The Constitution stands. That's been ruled, but it's not being followed. So now's the time to hold people accountable. And I think with the change in administration, there's going to be a lot of things because corruption had gotten so bad. And I'm going to say it again, like I always have. This is the reason Chevron was so damaging to our country. That rule.
See, we did a thing last night on imminent danger, and we actually looked up the definition of what imminent danger is, and if they're still allowed in the house. Yes, if they can prove imminent danger signed by a court-ordered judge and have that court order and warrant in hand, then they can come in your house. But otherwise, if they're just investigating, they cannot cross the threshold of your house.
Well, CPS doesn't have the authority to even come in as far as an emergency situation. You're looking at specially trained personnel like police are supposed to. Fire department's pretty common. If you see smoke, there's fire, you definitely want them. I mean, they're justifiable for entry with their smoke or I smell gas. Those particular things are there. They kind of go in their guidelines, and fire department hasn't really pushed that line because I don't have a reason to be in your home unless there's a fire. And that's where there's a lot of respect for the home that's even followed with that. And too many people are just crossing lines, and a lot of people need to just get out of everybody else's fucking business. But the biggest thing is get out of my fucking house.
Yep.
You don't belong here unless you're family or inner circle. Circle one, which is immediate family and people you ultimately trust, and possibly people circle two is what we call it. That are close acquaintances that you invite in and out, but don't have, there's still some things you trust them with, but not everything. Second people, but once again, these are people you've communicated that I'm allowing you into, or you're open to come in. You're comfortable with being here. Your family. But when you've got people that are just coming in because, hey, I work for the government and I need to do my investigation. Your investigation does not trump my constitutional rights, and you're about ready to find that out this year with our filings. So trust me, when we get this thing, we're about working on it here. We're hammering out multi-facets with this. But guys, this next year under this new administration, we will be filing the largest federal class action, but federal lawsuit against CPS in every state. Every state. And just due to the fact of constitutional rights violation. And once it's exposed, all children must come home. They have to, because it's illegal. And it comes down to, well, you documented everything. Well, I hope you can go back so many cases since you've been working here, because an investigation will turn up your CPS report that you're supposed to. Was there an emergency? As you talk about, they are required by federal and state statutes and laws to document an emergency entry and to say whether or not it was justified. Because as soon as you find out it's not an emergency anymore, you're supposed to exit. You now no longer have anything in there, and it wasn't a justifiable entry. So if you say there's an emergency, you're supposed to document it. Well, for CPS, if there is an emergency, part of their national protocols is you have to call a police officer. So here's some information for you. Is there a police report? Your Honor, if there was an emergency, national guidelines require them to call. But they're not following anything in there. And if you're not doing that, that's a federal case because it's a constitutional rights violation. Your local court doesn't have that. Well, the numbers of children actually, that's the other thing we're going to bring up too, probably in our case too, that I think people are not aware of, is the amount of missing children per state that CPS supposedly has control of or custody of, that now they don't know where they're at.
Yep.
Or now you've got states shipping people across state lines That's called trafficking because you crossed the state line and it is now a federal offense. That's trafficking. As soon as you move across state lines, and if a crime is committed where that child is abused in another state, that's an automatic federal case. It's not against the state. People got to know where to fight and how to fight.
Yes,
And Merry Christmas, everyone, to Brenda, Debbie, anybody else that's out there that's watching us. Merry Christmas. So we started off just hitting it wide open.
yeah. I mean, and we got to, because it's time that we start really pushing out there even more. I mean, now that we know that we can get tons of viewers, because on Wicked Warriors, I checked mine and I'm up to 1,800 now.
Yeah.
So my show on last Saturday very well went viral.
Well, I think that's why Darren's pushing me a lot to do my show. I'm just trying to get through a lot of personal things to do that and hammer Darren down with his particular, maybe some health issues or something to cross in his personal case. It's just, we've got so many things to take care of. And it's like, hey, we want you to do that. Like, man, I have got to get some things squared away first before I can commit to a certain night of the week at a certain time with this and that. I said, but we're open to talk about it. I just have to sit down and schedule something with Darren. And once again, it's holiday season, so good luck. You know.
I mean, even if you were able to do like the Sunday night show, because we really don't do a Sunday night show.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things we want to discuss, because I think he has one show with Tiff. Tiff and the Punisher show, like, that's usually on certain nights during the week at a certain time, of kind of hitting that empty slot. I think you've got, Saturday usually, and then usually there's another day that she doesn't have, that they don't have a show to kind of give them a break. But yeah, we're considering out, but it's just a no holds bar when it does, because a lot of that right now we're still working on. I want to put some of our casework and some of our paperwork together and kind of get that behind us, get it filed, and a couple other things. And once again, we're strategically waiting for the new administration and the new DOJ, because here's the thing, guys. A lot of you guys out there have already notified the FBI and they have not done anything. That is something that is going to be a lot of help with the purge with the DOJ. Is we are reporting federal crimes and you're not doing that, because constitutional rights is a federal thing and the lower courts do not have jurisdiction over them. And that's exactly what they'll tell you. So if you, and that's the thing that kills me, is your family attorneys in every state don't even have the ability, probably 90% of them, to even go into a federal court. They don't even have the license. So you're not getting the best representation that you actually take and are deserved or required to have.
The only one that does in our case is my wife's attorney, because she is a civil rights attorney.
Right.
I think mine was able to, but
Well, and a lot of them do the other thing though. Is this is a lot of things too, is they got to see the judge every day. And see, I think that's where the problem of impartiality is. They are beginning to bond relationships instead of dealing with the law. And that's where a lot of that should be. You should not be your judges shouldn't even come from your county. Why? Because then you're impartial. If you live in that county, you're going to get the local politics and everything else, which is why living in the county that you actually preside over is a bunch of crap. There should be a separation between it, because you're technically standing in judgment of certain things, and it shouldn't be part of that. And that whole buddy system with some of these lawyers and everything, that's the other thing that's got to stop. I think it's a matter of respect professionally, but this other bullshit of these buddy systems, of how they're having backroom secret meetings. Just recently that came out on another case that somebody found out that they wanted to do that because there was a private meeting between the judge and somebody else on the other side, and they found out about it, and they wanted to jail that one dude for doing that, and because he found out about the meeting, and the judge wants to know, where did you find out, or how did you find out? In other words, you had a snitch, and that judge was going to penalize the snitch for snitching on them for breaking the law. That's an abuse of power.
Well, see, that's where my case will also come in, because in the criminal side, Stephen and the judge and the DA all met in the judge's chambers for ex parte 4 times. And I wasn't told not a dick of what happened in that room.
Nope.
That's a federal crime. And Stephen won't even fight against Judge French and sticks up for him and says, well, I'm not going to challenge his ruling. I have every right to challenge his goddamn ruling.
You sure did?
Especially when he rules, granted, actually, I can read it to you. It says right here that he granted it, but didn't grant it. So it was the defendant's motion is hereby denied, but then on the flip side, he approved for the discovery and gave the DA 30 days to produce it.
Yeah, it's buying his buddies more time. Oh, I've had a problem. I've had this. Listen, I'm guaranteed a speedy trial. Once again, how is this a speedy trial if you're not holding up your thing? That's the whole point, is get this within a thing. Now, Brenda, what you're talking about with Chris, you're talking about a change of venue. We're talking about a change of jurisdiction. A change of venue is staying within your same court realm, just a different county or a different judge. You can just ask for a different judge. That's a change of venue, or who hears your case. A change of jurisdiction means that that lower court or your family court, or even you automatically move it to civil court, because family court is a garbage court anyway. First thing you go in is I'd like to go to civil court right away. And they can't deny you that. So that would be a change of venue I would do, is get out of the family court and go straight into a civil matter. Because a lot of the things too that comes up to is in juvenile court, as far as jurisdiction is, they don't have rights. They don't have the family courts don't have rights to penalize or do any of that stuff with adults. This is juvenile court. They call it family court, but they've renamed juvenile court family court. There's no jurisdiction. As soon as you're talking about adults interacting with adults or a crime that's happened, that's been the biggest thing too, is a lot of people that are speaking up about their kids being taken, is the fact that they didn't have the authority. You don't have the jurisdiction. You came in on this, you came in on that. This is socialism. This is what we fought World War II for in Germany for. And I'll be dead honest with you, the same thing needs to happen to the same people that are doing the same thing to our families and kids. Real simple: treason. You need to be put on the White House lawn and hung and put on public television for everybody to see. You need to fear treason. America needs to fear treason again, and they don't. And that's the biggest thing. You need to put public execution of treason on public television and have people watch all channels like a president. Why? This is what happens when you violate our Constitution, and make it publicly known. Oh, well, that's detrimental to the kids and everything else. No, it's not. It's called consequences for your damn action. This is somebody that turned on our country. This is somebody that stole children. I'm sorry. If you're wanting to put all that other stuff to fucking death, then put them to death, because they're just as bad as a fucking pedophile. Because what? They're making money off of the sexual exploitation of children. Yeah, I seen the Johnson. Yeah,
I've seen that too.
Yep,
I seen that too. Yep.
Listen, man, if anything right now, if you can't tell that this administration that's in there now is corrupt as fuck, here's the bottom line: the pardons should have told you everything.
Yeah, because they even pardoned someone for me too.
Oh, the amount of pardons, his own son. There's got to be. Here's the thing: there has got to be an adjustment in those pardons, that they cannot be directly or indirectly affected by those things. In other words, they're just completely thing. They reviewed the case law, or you have those particular things, but it has to be of a federal offense. Having a judge that trafficked children for kids and give him off on the fucking hook of a fucking pardon. A pardon means that motherfucker can go back to being a judge. I hope you people out there that are realizing what just happened. He just put another crooked judge back on the stand to do another round and keep doing what he was doing. A pardon means as though it never existed. Wow. So there's a lot of corruption to clean up. But once again, it's not going to be just certain people. And I think the American people have finally woken up enough to start pointing fingers, and it's these motherfuckers. This has got to go. But once you understand the point of like what we've made, it's not just that the things of kidnapping kids, it's violating your constitutional rights left and right to do it. There's the biggest crime. And who allows this? Let alone what state person comes in and goes, this is okay. It's in the name of children. So you want somebody to walk into your house and take all your shit, right? How do you like it if it happens to you? How about we come in and we take your kids? Oh, wait, because you hire mostly people that don't have kids, and the kids that you do have, or people that have kids, now you've involved them in a crime to where they have to continue, and it's called blackmail.
Yeah, because even the caseworker we just had, she was straight out of college, right into CPS. She's only been there for a year, and she doesn't have kids. She's
Number
a wet
one,
behind the ears.
anybody that ever works with
I
children
got
should be
money.
at least in their 30s minimum. And you can
She,
call that age discrimination. No, I call that experience needed.
I call her a floozy, because she's one of them women that, I'm not racist at all, but she's kind of like in between. And she dresses very classy. You can tell she's got money. She comes from a rich family, or a family that has money, because she wears herself well. And she's got the attitude of, well, I'm better than you. Bitch, you ain't better than no one. You work for me. Remember that.
Once again, this comes back on, this just comes back to the point of power, control, and manipulation. And it's all about money and power, because it has nothing to do with protecting these children. It has nothing to do with bettering families, but it also has to do with a social class. You have an upper social class that has decided to force their belief and or religion down your throat with CPS. You're not doing this right. It needs to go this way. That's called a First Amendment violation. I don't get to tell Vinny how he raises his children. I don't get to tell Vinny where he goes to church, if he goes to church, or if he cuts his grass every fucking Thursday. I don't care if he runs the lawnmower when it's fucking snowing out and he looks fucking stupid and crazy. He's got a fucking right to fucking do it and cut the fucking snow. I don't give a shit. That's not my problem. There's the problem. Keep your nose in your own fucking business.
Facts.
I don't need, well, and my point is, it's just like one of those things of back the fuck off. It ain't none of your business. I'm on my private property. And unless I've hurt someone or someone's gotten hurt on my property and you can prove it in a court of law, leave me alone and fuck off. You don't belong here.
Yeah,
pretty much. If he decides he wants to commit suicide or do up a bunch of dope or heroin or anything else till he ODs, not like you're going to pull him back from the dead and hold him accountable in a court of law for doing drugs. There's the whole point. Freedom.
I mean,
no matter what it does.
I'm not at all saying that, something might happen to me, because, I do have some health problems just like you.
Yeah.
I have really bad back problems, and even though I'm doing physical therapy, it only takes a little bit away from my pain, really. And the other thing is, I've become more chronic to migraines lately, and it gets worse and worse and worse as it goes on. And not only that, they're saying that my cholesterol is like still through the fucking roof, and they can't figure it out. So he's looking into that, because it might be pancreatitis. He doesn't know. And if it keeps going unfounded, I might be fucked.
Well, the other thing you have to look at too that we don't teach ourselves is, one, we still eat a lot of the foods that we used to. We still handle meat, we still handle chicken, but how many people actually take time to cleanse your body or from parasites or anything else? You could have something that's a little undercooked, or a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Hey, we need to go through a cycle, but in the cycle, it's, they don't make a medicine to do that. It has to be done naturally to purify you, cleanse you, get rid of parasites, heavy metals, all these other things we've been exposed to, but we've never been taught not to. Instead, hey, here's another pill for this symptom, and another pill for this symptom, and another one for this symptom. We are the most over-medicated country in the entire world.
Yeah, because a lot of countries are doing all natural remedies.
Well, they work better because it's the way your body absorbs them. Your body wasn't designed to take that garbage. She'll tell you all about it back there. Shit, she'll give you a whole earful.
Did you know?
All day long. I'll talk about it all day long.
Did you know that our bodies actually produce It's something that heals our body. It's
Yeah.
all, it's what makes us look young. Okay. And by the time we reach like 30 to 40, we lose that. Okay. So that's why we look older. How do you think all of these people in Hollywood stay looking younger? Because they're taking this stuff that
Adrenochrome.
it's called collagen, and
I know they're on that adrenochrome that ends up going through the fear. That's the other thing that
yeah,
Allie was
yeah,
talking about is, hey, they eat food off you, you're scared to death, you don't fucking move, and they, or they dope you up with something that kind of it makes you to where you're fully awake, but you can't move. You're almost paralyzed, but you're fully aware.
Collagen is a big one. A lot
Yeah.
of us take it.
A lot of collagen. There's a lot of things. The other thing is stress. The amount of stress that we're under that deals with your
Stress is
a huge thing for your health. We weren't
Yep.
designed to live like this, man. I mean,
No.
this is not this. You slave away at this and this and that to get a bunch of fucking junk and this and that, and then tax for a bunch of shit for services we don't even need, let alone they're unconstitutional to even exist. It's just got to stop. And unfortunately, with where we're at and everything else, I'm sorry, it's going to take some, well, let's say some hard things to where some people are going to have to be put their heads on a chopping block for treason and trafficking children and everything and be executed before we start waking some people up to realize, don't come in my fucking home. See, they've already softened us up on our Second Amendment because every state has been different and all this other stuff. One of the things Trump's turned around and said, no, we are ending the debate on the Second Amendment and constitutional and concealed carry. It's going to be constitutional carry, even for concealed carry. That's another executive order that's coming through. We're ending this whole thing with states and cities being able to pick and choose what they want to on your constitutional rights. This is an absolute. You cannot, and you're not going to charge a license or a service for it. It comes down to that. And everybody turns around, and of course, half of the response is, well, that'll turn into the Wild West and this and that. Not if you ain't doing nothing stupid. And that goes for even law enforcement. You got, just because you wear a badge doesn't mean you can't be a criminal.
Right.
Just because you work for CPS doesn't mean you don't traffic children.
I mean, look at all these cops that are getting busted nowadays. There's one that I was just reading about, a cop, and one, I think in Pennsylvania or something. I was reading about it today out in an article. This guy is convicted of molesting children, and his wife was part of it.
Oh yeah.
Does happen.
Oh, there's some people there's some dark corners in this world. There's some dark people in here, but once again, that is the thing that we need to make very clear with CPS and the people that are trained to do half of this stuff and everything else. Those are the only stories they hear and is pushed, which is why their training sucks. Not every situation is a Jeffrey Dahmer, and that's the way they look at every single fucking case. Never on its merits.
I got to read something to you guys because Herbert's been talking to me like on a regular basis. And he sent me a couple of videos, and then he put at the bottom, Vinny, this is how to handle CPS. Don't open the door. Tell them to get the warrant. And then at the bottom of it, he put something is very, very wrong with the system.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So even now Herbert is really starting to dig in and investigate CPS and these courts and the entire system. And he's starting to see what's really going on.
Yeah.
And he's just like, whoa.
You think your problem, here's the thing. When you're on that team for CPS, law enforcement, this and that, you are pumped up with so much, I'm going to say it old school. You've had so much sunshine pumped up your fucking asshole that you can't see the light of fucking day.
Right.
You don't know the difference between right and wrong because you're all around your little circle of friends that are encouraging you to continue with bad fucking habits. There's no individualism. When you go up against something, you're going up against the whole police force or the whole district attorney's office or the whole state against you, not against one individual against another individual, which is the way the Constitution wants. It's not supposed to be like that. When you go against company structures and infrastructures that have those abilities to do those things and provide multiple lawyers for commercial cases, you can afford it. But I think just in our case alone, it was just on the other side of the fucking thing, you had a judge or a magistrate and at least 3 or 4 fucking other fucking lawyers.
Hmm.
How is this a fucking fair fucking trial stacked up 7 to fucking 1
Yeah,
or 6 to
especially
1? How is that a fair fucking?
5 to 1.
How is that due process that you get all these people to speak up if you're there for the children? Shut the fuck up and do the shit for the children. But when you've got guardian ad litems like what we have, the constitutional rights of the children were violated, such as questioning without a parent's fucking particular thing. You didn't have a right to do that. And if you have one offending parent, did you contact the other offending parent? Did you get the parents' permission? Why? Those rights taken are still there. But once again, until you go to the federal court and expose it, hey, wait a minute, that was done. Yeah, that's illegal. And until they hear it, that's why most of the big cases that ended up winning over the past 5 years against CPS are bought and paid for with a non-disclosure agreement and a nice big fat juicy check, even more than probably what they would have won. And then their attorney's going to go, you know what, we ought to just settle out of court. You know, just say, hey, non-disclosure, you got your money, you just go about your way. Fuck no. I want to make sure that I'm establishing fucking case law to make sure you motherfuckers never do it again. It ain't just me. See, that's where we need to come together, that they're scared. They've kept us separated, but now we're talking to each other. They don't like that.
yeah, they definitely do
now,
not like that. Nope.
Oh, dude, I've had threats and all sorts of stuff just sent to me and all sorts of shit. People saying stuff online, or even back when I had TikToks of, you know, hey, we're going to do this, that. Matter of fact, I did start a new one. If you guys have got it out there, you can find me out there. I think I sent it to Vinny. I'm still waiting on Vinny to follow me back or hit the little click. He's a little behind. So's Darren. That's okay.
Well, I haven't got TikTok back yet. I've been
I have
highly
not.
thinking about it because you know
Well, you
what?
said your wife had it though, didn't it?
Yeah, she's got it.
So she'll have to follow me.
I used to have tons of followers on there. I
Yeah.
mean, tons. I was up to like almost 10,000 followers.
That's
So
where they
I was
kind of,
pretty out there. And I did lots of videos, like tons. You can ask Debbie. She followed me on there, and now she's on here with me. So it kind of makes it interesting. And Chris followed me as well. So didn't the other Chris with a K. So I have brought some of my people have actually followed me to the show.
Yes, Brenda, mine got wiped completely. I had to actually make what's called a ghost account. They actually had to take and remove my phone number and trace it down to an email only, which had to do all that backdoor, something that wasn't connected to the previous account whatsoever. I mean, I can't even put in my phone number because I tried to do that on one account. It kicked it out, and it wasn't 2 days, and it was shut down. So I was banned not just once, but twice, technically. Now, as far as now, Brenda says something here about a 2-day trial to terminate license. Well, you know how to stop that real quick? File a federal case with something with your constitutional rights, and then you get a form from the federal court that they are taking over jurisdiction, and all that shit stops. They cannot proceed, and they don't get a choice whether or not it changes jurisdiction. You have to write the thing, and you will justify in your letter or your statement to the federal court of why it's in federal court. Specifically, the easiest way to do it is there are constitutional rights issues or civil rights issues, as well as federal law that has been violated in my particular case, and I need to be heard. And you file that, and the lower court has zero power to stop you from going to federal court. Zero. They cannot stop you filing a change of jurisdiction for constitutional rights issues. Matter of fact, if you do get any resistance, you can report it to the federal judge, and they will put them in sanctions.
Yep, and they will hold them accountable.
100%. And don't think that the FBI won't show up to a courthouse to get a judge. I've seen it. So a lot of it is knowing your rights and where to pick your fights. Now, is it going to piss off a bunch of people? Well, here's the other thing. Yeah. But here's the thing, there's strength in numbers, and they know that, and they know we're talking now. They know we're getting informed. They know we're figuring shit out, as well as some of the case law that they're still going to be held accountable, even though if your case was 5 years ago or anything else, due process, SEC versus Jarsky. If you have the ability to take as a civil or administrative judge, which every state judge is, if you have the ability to invoke civil penalties, not the fact that you do invoke them, but have the power or the ability to invoke them. Automatically means trial by jury is what that case law says. You have to have due process. So all you guys that are out there, the first thing you go through right there, anybody that did not have a trial by jury, and you went through family court and civil court, and like I said, jump through the things, especially civil court, is a constitutional rights violation. Due process. You were required to do this. Now it's up to the court to decide. It's not the state's issue. That doesn't apply to us. That's for a federal judge that don't give a flying fuck about the state. This is federal court. And if you've ever encountered anybody that's been in federal court or a federal fucking judge, they're a whole different creature than your state judge. They don't give a fuck because they don't get anything other than ruling on the Constitution and going over case law. That's all they do. Half the time, they won't even look at the case law. They'll look at back and forth, and they'll render a decision even to overturn over other cases, which is one of the things we're going after is Rooker versus Feldman to get the family court shit either completely shut down. Hell, we're going to after your courts in every state is what we're after, is with this state, because you cannot. Because nobody's sitting there existing unless you have somebody new that has not already committed a crime of illegal entry or participated in a court case that doesn't deal with fraud from illegal entry. When you've printed it, you got to understand. The thing that people don't understand about this also is with this case, the repercussions, if we, the people, push it, you could pretty much gut anybody elected or appointed as official in your entire state because your state has been acting under unconstitutional things and been operating and collecting money for it. Do you know if everybody took and actually overturned those things and got it back and then held these people accountable, that we wouldn't have anybody in public office that could ever serve again or deal with children? Matter of fact, you're going to take politicians because there's a crime against children. That means they can't even deal with their own children.
What's that
Guess
say,
what,
gentlemen?
folks? And that system turns on those elected officials because then the courts are going to come after them. And then the ones that are appointed, not CPS, but the court appointed social worker will then take, which is the only thing that should exist, is a court appointed or a court social worker. There's different standards. Not everybody goes in that, but they're supposed to work under the courts to where the judge, they just carry out the judge's orders.
Oh, that's Rooker versus Feldman,
goes
right?
into here.
Yeah,
That's not what happens.
So
Yeah,
this is
Rooker
just so
versus
everybody
Feldman.
knows. This is here. Why don't we give an explanation of what this is? So Rooker versus Feldman doctrine is a doctrine of civil procedure enunciated by the United States Supreme Court in two cases: Rooker versus Fidelity Trust and District of Columbia Court versus Appeals versus Feldman. The doctrine holds that lower United States federal courts other than the Supreme Court should not sit in direct review of state court decisions unless Congress has specifically authorized such relief. In short, federal courts below the Supreme Court must not become a court of appeals for state court decisions. State court appellate has to find a state court remedy or obtain release from the U.S. Supreme Court. An example of legislation that has been interpreted to be an exception to this doctrine is 28 U.S.C. 2254, which authorizes federal courts to grant a writ of habeas corpus, even after a state court has denied it. Another explicit legislative exception to the doctrine was the Palm Sunday Compromise, a statute passed by Congress to permit federal courts to review the decisions of Florida courts in the Terry Schiavo case. The doctrine has been held to apply to any state court decisions that are judicial in nature. For example, a judge's decision not to hire an applicant for a job is not a judicial decision. However, if the prisoner right case of Forcion intensive supervision parole, the federal district court judge Irenas interceded when it ruled the Rooker-Feldman doctrine does not apply to this case. The ISP resentencing panel has final authority over the plaintiff, and there is no way of him appealing his decision. Accordingly, this court does not have the authority to review the decision of the panel. In 2005, the Supreme Court revisited the doctrine, ExxonMobil versus Saudi Basic. The court affirmed that Rooker-Feldman doctrine was statutory based on the certorial jurisdiction statute, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, pretty much what this is saying is the Rooker-Feldman is not an appeals court for your lower court cases.
Yes.
So that's why he's saying that you can't go there and say, well, in my case with my child, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. You have to go on. This is what happened constitutionally.
You have to be very specific when you go into that court that we are not dealing with a family court matter. We are dealing with a constitutional rights or federal law issue, which the lower court does not have jurisdiction over. That's
Correct.
the only way you can get it past half of that stuff, because this is the case right here that if you file in federal court, it's the first thing that every state is going to go after and file a Rooker versus Feldman of no, we're exempt because of this. But when you articulate in your initial complaint, this is not about a family court issue, this is about constitutional rights issues, and you go into what constitutional rights were violated or questions you have regarding the Constitution, it doesn't even have to be. That's the civil part. The first thing you're going to ask for is basically kicking it up to the upper courts to say, please address the federal or constitutional issues that you have jurisdiction on and rule on them. In my case, that this lower court judge doesn't have the authority to do. Does it affect that directly or indirectly? Yes, it can. For example, illegal entry. That would go under the doctrine. If you have an illegal entry, the Fourth Amendment violation, that your first instance with CPS is they came in and did not have a warrant, court order, or an emergency, and they still entered your house, question your children. That is a Fourth and 14th Amendment violation from clear. The doctrine of fruit from a poisonous tree does apply to both civil and federal cases. In other words, you broke the law the first time we saw, your entire case is flushed. No matter what the state says, well, we don't deal with that in here. You're right. So I need to change jurisdiction. And then the federal court's going to go, nope, fruit from a poisonous tree doctrine, case dismissed. The state is then forced by the upper courts or by the federal courts to follow the law, is what it's done. There's the thing that the state courts are not going to tell you, is to give you that option, because they want to tie you up in state courts to drain your money. Almost every single case, if a lawyer looks at your case, CPS or not, is a constitutional rights violation, which means that family court system has lost jurisdiction from the very beginning to even hear your case until the federal matters are resolved. And if a crime was committed, once again, a lot of us have made that report to FBI and this, that, and they're just going to say, we're not going to get it, try to work it out within your state. But the biggest thing they want is RICOs.
So what do we do? Here's a question for you. What do we do when the Supreme Court or whomever, the federal courts, rule in your favor, and then you go back to that lower court or even the higher courts in your jurisdiction, and they rule and they say, hey, you go back, you look at this again, and then the lower courts opt not to do so, or they just deny that whole following. What do you do then?
Then you file a complaint for.
Because I have a case that I'm working on that this gentleman won in his appeal. They told the lower courts to go back to look at it, reverse their decision. And
so that would be a report to the judge for contempt. That would be contempt of court in a federal court, whether you see the judge or not. If the judge has issued something in that particular case and is not being followed, then they would go back to that federal court and file under that same judge for a contempt charge that those things are not being followed, or the writ or rule that he ruled on. Because once again, that goes back to the supremacy clause of the Constitution, the origination of the Constitution from the different branches of government, and the states do not have the ability to overturn anything federal. They just don't have that ability. That's where a lot of the gun issues and stuff that have come up. Well, we're gonna limit this, we're gonna limit this, but as soon as they move it to a federal court, it's a constitutional issue. It's not a thing. I'm being restricted. I can't, or I'm being charged, or I'm doing a license. And that's why this new administration is coming out, especially with the Second Amendment. We're going to end that conversation. If you want one, go get one. You don't have to have a license. You don't have to have this, you have this. We encourage training. But once again, training was not a requirement under the Second Amendment. Why? Because under the Second Amendment, a lot of the people were farmers, hunters, or were this, and that. You knew how to use a weapon. Right. A majority of people, let alone people in the inner city. A lot of the problems, those are city problems, not country problems. Let's just put it that way. And you cannot pass laws based off of and discriminate against the difference between city people and the way they live and the way country people take and live. They're two different ways of doing it. But you can't have people from the city penalize and tell people from the country, you can't this, the same way that people from the country can't turn around and say, right, well, you can't this. To be honest, there's a little bit more power with some of the country people if they think about it, especially the farmers. Because if you don't like what I'm fucking doing, you ain't getting no fucking food. How about them apples?
Right.
How about I play a different fucking game with some of our farmers? You want to change prices? Quit fucking selling your shit. Take 1 year off. Plant slow 1 year. I won't do change until you make changes. There's no food going to the ground. I own the ground. And as soon as people start turning around, or you do farm shares, I'm not going to sell to GMOs or big things. I'm going to support communities. I'm going to do a farm share. Why? A farm share means you own the product, the goats, the chickens, or anything else. You technically own them. The people that are housing them or raising them or that, you're paying them to do that, not on a different property. That's how farm shares work. That's why that guy got caught up in that raw milk thing. He didn't have a proper farm share. He had a stand with people to come in and buy raw milk and do other things. Can't do that. That's going to get the government in. Why? Because you're doing that. A farm share does the loophole within the farming community and everything else to turn around and say, technically they own the animals and we collect the stuff. They're technically just paying us to manage their animals because they don't have the space. It's no different than renting a storage unit because I got too much shit and my house ain't big enough. There's no law against me not going to get a storage unit. Just because they own the property, they're just taking and renting you the space. What goes in that space is up to you. Unless you're doing, Breaking Bad type shit and meth and a fucking thing. I mean, there's people in California and some of the other places. They're literally, because it's so high, they literally live in a rental unit. I mean, literally. I've seen it. Fake boxes, a whole bedroom behind them, everything else, and then they just come in and out as they go, just like a normal fucking house. But a couple $100 a month for a space to live.
People live in tents in LA.
Yeah, tents in LA. Hell, they're on the sidewalks. I mean, hell, half of them, well, they're shitting in the streets in fucking Hollywood. So what's the difference?
Yeah, but you know what? All these tent cities have everybody. I bet you if you went around and you asked every one of these people in tent cities where their hands were involved with CPS, I bet you most of them were. I bet you'd find 80% of them have involvement with CPS.
I got a fucking question.
Probably.
How is it California can get away with fucking tents and everything on their city streets and everything else, but that's not good enough for people in North Carolina that just went through the flood to take and live and survive through that way?
Right. How come
That's
they
called
can't have these little
discrimination
houses
right
that are being put up for them? Why can't they have these little wooden sheds that they're putting up for houses for them?
The weather is also better in Southern California than North Carolina.
Well, once again, that's part of discrimination.
Well,
East Coast can't tell
California
West
are
Coast
living on a
what to do.
lithium.
West Coast can't do what East Coast wants to. Either way.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that you're better off in a tent in Southern California than you are in a tent in the winter in North Carolina.
Listen, I know people that are survivalists and everything else. They can put up an old good fashioned canvas tent with a wood burning potbelly for little stove and little wood and everything else, and that thing is just as toasty as can be. And if you think that it's too cold for anything else, you better talk to some motherfuckers that go ice fishing. That's all.
You come in there, you come out of there with your freaking shorts on, man. That's it. You got your shorts on,
baby.
That's it.
Pull in the water.
Yeah.
With a hole
you know why? It's because there's no lithium mine underneath the people in California.
It's true.
I mean if that between what
and that's what it is in North Carolina, right? Am I correct? It's a lithium.
Yeah, lithium.
There's a couple other resources there as well.
Okay, but here's my question to you. What's the number one ingredient in methamphetamine?
Lithium.
So why is the United States so much? We're leaving the poppy fields, so we've left Afghanistan, we leave Iraq, we don't mess with China, but now we come to the United States and let's go after lithium. What's one of the number one drugs that they're talking about here in the United States right now? They're taking over our streets.
Fentanyl.
Methamphetamine made by
fentanyl too. Yep.
Right. But I'm just saying, it's just awful funny that the United States goes after all these places that wherever our drug addictions lie, that's where our troops lie.
There's more money. I did the rabbit hole on this one. There is more money to be made for businesses on the legit side for drug and addiction recovery, federal and state funds on top of it. There's more money in the recovery process of the addiction thing for big pharma and all these institutions and the soft science of psychology of half this thing, other than the fact that we can do half these other things, but we can't stop drugs. I mean, come on. Of course, I guess those weren't classified like we talked about before, that it's these are not the drugs that the blacks are giving to the white women to take away those things. So it's not illegal like marijuana. Then that's the way that marijuana got classified as an illegal drug. Maybe we just need to have a better excuse. Hey, fentanyl is causing, hey, misbursts or this, that. No, that wasn't good enough. But dear God, don't let it take and have the blacks taken away from the whites, because we'll pass a law against that shit real quick. Don't mind the death toll, but don't let them go after our women. Do you see the amount of fucking stupidity that comes with that rhyme and reason and that train of thought? The hell, dumbasses.
No, it's absolutely sickening. It's disgusting.
Well, that's like half the idiots out here voting in Congress or the Senate or anything else, talking about gun this, gun that, and all the other thing, and that a 50-round mag with clips. It's got so many clips, and it's a semi-full automatic, and it's just heat seeking and all this other shit, and it's an assault this and that. And I go, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. You want to hear about the most uneducated thing? Have a liberal talk about fucking a gun. No fucking clue what so damn ever. The dumbest shit comes out of their mouth. The most uneducated, ignorant stuff that has flown.
Look,
California.
when I was in high school, we carried around
it,
shotguns in our trucks with us. We always had guns in our cars with us.
Oh,
yeah, you guys had them on the back rest.
Yeah, we had the racks that were in the. If you didn't have a gun rack in your truck, you were nobody.
Yeah.
Yep.
When it was hunting season, you was coming in there, and it wasn't nothing to be going to school covered in blood. Why?
That's right.
Killed something that morning.
Everybody, we were going hunting before school. That's right. Absolutely, we'd go hunting before school. You'd hear gunfire all over the place.
Yeah.
And we were able to ride like our bikes or our ATVs if we had them, or our dirt bikes to school and park them out back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And nowadays, kids really ain't allowed to do that. They're allowed to bring their snowmobiles, but they're not allowed to bring their four-wheelers.
Are you kidding? In some places, they won't even let them take their fucking tractors. They actually arrested a bunch of kids in one state when they had a tractor thing for seniors, and it was a tradition there for years to take the tractor to school. And they actually took in the police department to come in there and find all of them and seize the tractors. And you talk about a bunch of pissed off farmers. Why?
Do that.
We can drive on the road, and there's no license to do that. Hell, you don't believe me? There's family farms out there. Listen, it's only when you hit the asphalt, and I wish they had the same thing with some of the traffic shit. If you're on your property, you could be underage, you can be 5, you can do this, you can do it, and you can drive a tractor, a car, or anything else. It's on my private property. There ain't a fucking thing you can do about it. Then why don't you do the same with CPS and keep you out of my fucking house?
Yep.
Not too much to ask. You'll do it for the vehicles that you can't make money on, but dear God, you try to take about coming into my fucking house and nosing around through all my shit. No fucking warrant or no reason to even be in my house. Because if it was
let's look at it like this. Okay. So let's take this to the drawing board and let's figure out why. Let's take this down this wormhole. First of all, and I know I say it all the time, I know everybody pushes it off, but I'm telling you right now, the fact of the matter is this: there's parents patriae. That's what there's your first line of CPS being able to come in and be into your life. Parents patriae and how it is pertained to the United States and its laws.
Mm-hmm.
So there's our first line. That's where the states get their rights to come in and do that, because it says with due process, they're allowed to interfere in your home services. So where does the due process
though? Where's my due process when I've got no fucking jury and it's 6 other attorneys against me?
Well, let's take this from the beginning. Let's take this right from step 1. You just got a complaint called on you, right? You aren't feeding your kid right at school, whatever. Let's just say that you got a complaint called on you. Where does their first line of authorization come for them to come and investigate you?
Doesn't.
Where's their crime? You have an accusation.
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is where parents patriae comes in, because now there's someone saying that you're not caring for your child properly, right? That'd be the only place, right, that it could come in.
Okay.
Because let's figure this out. Because to figure this out, how we can beat this legally, we got to figure out how they can do it lawfully. So let's figure this out. Let's figure this. So what gives them the authorization to come to your house and do an investigation on you?
I'd say a lot of it has to do on how things are defined. Well, it's not so much birth certificates and half the other thing. The thing is it gives you the right to come into your home or deal with your children if the state feels on its definition your child is being abused or neglected. It's in the definition. But how that definition,
what I'm saying is what document, what defines this so that they can do this? Where is their legality in all of this? What tells them that they have the right to do this?
Because of the interest in that one particular one that was passed, that the states have the right to, moderate or anything else that citizens within its state borders. how did that you know what I'm talking about, Darren? Um, that particular, what was it, case law or doctrine that comes in that the states have the
Right.
right
Well, I mean,
to.
you can't go by case law. They can't use case law. There has to be a
No.
law. And this
Yeah.
needs to be a law that states that they have every right, or it's a statute or code, which we know statute
Right.
or codes aren't made
Yeah,
for us. They're not made
there
for
we
the
go.
regular
Herbert,
people. They're
Herbert
made for the
answered it.
government. So,
Yeah.
what gives them the authority to even start this process with us?
The allegations. That
Correct.
Herbert just put it down bottom.
Now, who gets those allegations? What department has authorization and legal recourse against the parent to
The-
come into their lives and start an investigation? Or is it true that this is a voluntary thing? Because where's the law that
True.
states that they can come in and do this?
Well, once again, if it is under and it is under contract law, but the issue with contract law is that's what they're doing. It is people break contracts all the time. Why? People are not for their con. If you don't believe me, it is. How many people take and break their contracts for their cell phones back in the 80s? I mean, seriously, we had to go through so many contracts with I didn't like this one or I'm overcharged for this
Yeah.
one. I'm switching this one because of a new deal. It's always the better deal thing.
No, with that, I just reprogrammed my phone because I knew how to reprogram the phone, and I reprogrammed it with a new number and had free service for another month.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But let's go back. Think about this. Who has the authority to now come into your house and do an investigation on you? Who allows what documents, what law allows this to happen?
There really is none.
There's not. Because the accusation would be that you're hurting or harming another individual, hence violating their
In which
rights.
case, who should have the authority to come in and who would come in and investigate that? The police, right?
Yes, yeah, because they would be involved in that. Yep.
But they don't.
See, matter of fact, I even had law enforcement officers through another person that actually took and had a conversation with some law enforcement officers, and it was told to them by their chief of police and or sheriff and or the state that the state mandates that any case involving a child is automatically turned over to CPS. And I was like, but they're not law enforcement. Why are they dealing with? Well, there are things for the court.
Because law enforcement is also
When does law enforcement get involved with CPS? Supposedly, what is the only time that they are supposed?
They're not. They're not supposed to be involved in the matter because it's a civil matter. Unless it's a criminal matter, they have no jurisdiction to come in and do shit.
Okay.
Right. Let
So
alone
why?
even their investigation into your home. That's illegal entry. That was done in that case law. That they've already decided that on your Fourth Amendment. You don't get to come into the home.
I can't go to the courthouse and say, give me a warrant to search Gunner's house. I can't do that. I'm a nobody.
Nope.
So why can these nobodies go to the courthouse and say, Your Honor, we want a court document to give us a warrant so that we can go to this house? Who are
They
these
don't
people
even
and
have
where
that.
did
They
get
even
their
went through the
authorization?
loophole, Darren. You don't even you have an anonymous fucking thing because anonymous
But
one
my
you don't have
question
to sign the
is
fucking
where
warrant
does
to
this
them with
come from?
firsthand experience.
Where does the authority for them to do this come from? Where
Because
are they
they think
drawing
that
this authority?
they think they're the government. And
Where
they
does
have
the
all the
authority come from?
rely
They had the
on-
authority under the Chevron doctrine to do so because they were considered specialists and they got to pick and choose what laws they were to follow and what ones they didn't want to follow in the course of their jobs.
But
Hence,
they're
it
not
was
agents of the government, right? There's nowhere that says that they're agents, correct?
Well, don't they rely on our willingness to cooperate? I mean, everybody's kind of more or less bullied into contracting. They can't really do anything unless you give permission.
Right.
well, Herbert, I'll agree with you. They are not supposed to be in your home unless they have a warrant or an
But
emergency.
who are they to draw a warrant? This is what I'm getting at.
To draw a
Where-
warrant, they don't have enough
We're
cause to
skipping
draw a
this right
warrant.
over. We're skipping right. Like, who are these freaking people that we're allowing to have all of this authority without giving the authority by our Congress?
Because we are allowing it to happen. It's not so much they have it, it's we are allowing, and it has to do with being uneducated and not turning around and teaching us what our rights are and what this are, especially with stuff like public education, that we're supposed to be getting that information to be a good citizen and a well-informed citizen and how to vote and all those things, because your public education system is shit. We're not being educated. You don't have to get educated on
Even
this
the
stuff
public
until you
school
encounter
system
these
is
people.
voted in. The public
Yep.
school system, the board of those are all voted in people. Those
Yeah.
are all voted in positions of power. Where does Child Protective Services get their authority?
They don't.
What
They
gives
don't have
them
it. They really don't have it.
They get all power and authority from the state.
Where? Did we give them that? Is there a law that says that we the people give child protective services
I didn't say a
authority?
law, but once again, the state will tell you there's a law, but once again, policies and procedures and statutes are not laws. You and I
Correct.
both know that. But how many people have the false word in their mouth of saying, well, state law says I get to do that? As a matter of fact, you broke a state law by what? A traffic infraction. No, I didn't, because that's a code violation. That's not a law.
So is there a law
Right.
governing mandated
So-
reporters?
No, only policies and procedures on mandated reporters. And some states, if you report and it doesn't come back true, then it is a crime in some states. In other states, it's not a fucking crime. You can call on everybody
And
6 times.
who are
a fucking day.
mandated reporters reporting to?
So how?
CPS. The state turned that over from the police departments over to CPS. The only state that does not do that anymore is Texas. Texas overturned that just a year or two ago.
Okay, so here's the answer to that, Darren. I just looked it up. Okay, it states that the only time they actually have the authority is if they have a court order, if they believe a child is in immediate danger, not imminent, immediate.
Okay. Now, who is that court order going to?
It's under court order. If a CPS has a court order related to a child protective case, they can enter your home to conduct an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
it
court
says
order.
consent in most cases, CPS needs your permission to enter your home.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're nobody.
They rely.
No one has the authority. Nope.
Once again, it then comes down with that case law that I showed you guys, comes down to intent. I didn't call CPS. Somebody else did. See, now your intent to enter or anything else. Well, they gave me permission to enter. They don't have the right to give you permission. Why? Because that case law says before you show up at my door, you better have a warrant or a court order in your hand, which requires firsthand knowledge to testify before a judge, and that an anonymous fucking tip is not enough to get a fucking warrant. That's already been ruled on. But these
here's the thing.
lowercase
Who are
judges
these
are
motherfuckers
not
to even
following the
question you?
fucking law.
Who are these fuckers to even question you?
Nobody.
Chevron. Chevron gave so much power to government and socialism and communism. It's all over. It's not just CPS. It was ATF. It was FBI. ATF
those were all
was passing
divisions
laws
of the
on fucking
government,
gun
correct?
restrictions and this and this and that. That they're not Congress. They don't have the ability to do so. But they were penalizing people for it. They were putting people in fucking prison for it. They were fining people for it and all that other stuff because they allowed it to happen. And corruption.
So this
went all
this
the way
is
up the
just
fucking
some
ladder.
commodity. This is just a commodity that's kind of gone themselves in the mob mentality, and we've just accepted it as people of the United States. Like they have no. Tell me where the law. Where did our Congresses? Where did our Senates? Where did they come out and say this is a division of our government, and these people have the authority to go into your home and remove your children?
Nope. Matter of fact, the Social Security Act of 1935 that gave the first federal funding to CPSs and or this and that were mainly set up for foster homes for people that didn't have parents at all or a family that they could go to. Those were just orphan children. There was no family left. Those are the only people they're supposed to be dealing with.
Well, and this is what I think, though. I could be wrong on this, but coming out of World War I and World War II, when kids were left orphaned,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what were you going to do with them? They kind of sort of had to come up with a way to handle that situation. I mean, it should have been done community based, but I think at
But
the
that was
time,
volunteer. Correct. That was, and it was a volunteer based system that
Yeah,
came from
but
the
I think
SPCA.
somebody decided that wasn't good enough, or people weren't willing. I don't know, but something changed during that time period. Something changed.
Yeah.
Well, so they say is the change came during CAPTA when Bill Clinton and them they put incentives on the adoptions. That's when things supposedly changed. When the war on drugs kicked in, and they allowed parents' homes to be raided because they smelled pot and they started getting the kids. Like these are when the things changed. But because you didn't hear about this stuff in the 1970s. You didn't hear about this stuff in the early 80s. You didn't hear about this stuff until the late 90s that this was going on like this. Not saying that it wasn't happening, but to the degree of things that were happening and so on, they weren't happening until when, you know? And like I say this over and over. When they put Emilio Gonzalez's face on the front of the Time magazine, when the little kid was getting ripped out of the arms of his parents by the ATF, and no one said a goddamn thing about it, they said, "Go, United States, take these fucking children because no one cares." That's exactly when it happened. That's exactly when that took place.
Yeah. Now, other thing,
this is where this goes to fruit of the poisonous tree, Gunner.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They never had authority from the start. This is legal kidnapping, or not legal kidnapping. This is kidnapping. What? So you're telling me that you can just go now because this mandated reporter calls you, who is nobody, and you can just go now and take a child from someone's house? Who the fuck are you to take a mandated report? Nobody. Yep. No one's giving you the authority. So fruit of the poisonous tree. As soon as CPS fucking reached out to you, this whole thing is over with. They never had authority.
Some states have found some of the loopholes because the intent thing has been brought up and they know and they've got their ass whooped on it. Where some states will say, "Oh no, I call ahead and get permission." That's still coercion to entry. You're not. Right. Here's the point of CPS. If you do not have a warrant or court order or an emergency to even show up to knock on my fucking door, you should have that in hand. If not, I don't give a fuck about your investigation. You shouldn't even be knocking on my house. There's the other point. That's called solicitation. They can do it because it's supposed to be voluntary, which gives us the right to knock at least once. But when you have a public posting, such as no warrant, no entry, do your castle doctrine, all the other things else, and do a public post that is visible from the road, that eliminates that one knock thing that they're allowed to do. That's called a public posting.
No, it doesn't. We had a caseworker go right through that.
It's supposed to. But understand, too, if we all took and did what we were supposed to do and understood our Second Amendment, when that motherfucker in all of our cases, as soon as they entered our house with no warrant or court order, should have been calling the meat wagon to come pick it up, or calling 811 because we dig in a hole. And it's constitutionally protected. Why? You didn't have those things. You were asked to leave. You didn't leave. You kept coming in and reaching for children. I'm going to kill you. And what is your thing? Well, they work for CPS. They were in the midst of an investigation, this and that. Warrant, court order? Was there an emergency? Did he call the police because there was an emergency? No. They came in, forced their way in, and this, that, and sometimes even with a police officer. When both the police officer and the CPS fears coming in your house and not doing it legally, that it's going to end their life, maybe they're going to fucking think twice, but they have softened us psychologically with all the shit that's been out there in the propaganda against the Second Amendment. You're damn right. Under the Constitution, you come into my damn house for any fucking reason you ain't supposed to be there, it's going to be dealt with.
You know that.
The law protects that.
You know that. Check this out. Do you know that if you ask Google, I just asked, I said, where does Congress draw their authority from? It tells you the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Then I asked, where does CPS draw their authority from? You know what the answer is? Did you mean where does cops draw their authority from? There's no answer.
You're right.
There's no answer.
Wow.
Okay, Herbert, I've seen your position. Okay, now Benny's going to answer this one, and he's going to understand. Herbert put down here, the judge is given the authority to take the child. The argument should be with the judge. Benny, how many judges have we had lately?
4.
Oh.
All the same.
Hold on. We're going to go back to this. Now I'm going to ask Darren this. How many judges have we actually had, Darren?
None.
Thank you.
Because they're not judges, they're
a judge or a magistrate. That was a name they gave themselves. They're not administrators. A judge.
Right, because most of these people calling themselves judges are just notary of the fucking publics.
They're administrators of the law.
Administrators. They don't have judicial powers. They like to think they have, but they're supposed to do administrative things. In other words, there's a problem with the administration as an employee. an adjustment, we'll say, to the state has about as much authority or anything else as your employee handbook. That's about what the state is supposed to be equivalent to for commercial. Sure.
So, Debbie, I saw your thing about your lawyer being an idiot, and I think that we really need to look at this a different way. Lawyers are not idiots. Judges are not idiots. Doctors are not idiots. But they have been educated and conditioned into a system that is already built a specific way.
Money.
So, like, it's kind of like your doctor isn't an idiot, but they were educated a specific way to fit within the system as it stands. Just as your lawyers are educated a specific way to fit in the system as it stands. The problem is with the system.
Accountability. There's been zero accountability for them. There's not been a review. There has been a review of everything. There should be, once your judge does that, it should automatically go before a review council to make sure. It's called checks and balances. The most of our other systems were designed with a set of checks and balances to make sure that it was a good system. Two separate ends of the spectrum. Give you an idea. Somebody that does a lot of this sifting, we'll call it. Let's put it this way. If you're into stocks and bonds and everything else, and you're so pro against it, you're going to be more apt to do it. And Congress and Senate and those elected people have abused that system. Because if it was you or I that did half the shit they did, that's called insider trading. But because they work for the government and they can influence that and make money off it, that's horseshit. That's one thing that definitely needs to be addressed in this new administration, is that, and lobbying needs to be it. You get a paycheck from the federal government for the position you're doing as a servant, and you cannot make money unless you're doing a private business. And then you cannot sit on a committee that will take and directly affect your business if you have a private business that is big enough to run without you being there. Why? If you have people that are doing trading, find people that hate fucking traders altogether. Hate the fact they do it. Let them write the regulations and make it so fucking hard and difficult on them and keep them on a narrow fucking line. Don't get your buddies to get together to write the fucking rules. Get the people that can't fucking stand you to write the fucking rules and be strict and be fair about it. Why not? Who should be taking and writing the rules and regulations for CPS? Parents. Listen, you need to be over this. Why? Because it's we the people that are the government. So why aren't we telling them what they should have power over? So
I'm just saying,
we're
man.
about an hour and a half. Let's just go ahead and what do you think, Vinny? You want to start wrapping up here? We're coming up on about an hour and a half here in the show, and
I'm going to let Darren finish on what he was talking about first.
Okay.
You know, I think that's important that, you know.
No, I wasn't doing that. I'm saying let's kind of just start moving towards that.
Yeah.
Exit, because we're getting on our time, I think.
Well,
Darren, go ahead, Darren.
I'm just saying that we all need to take a really damn close look at who we're giving authority to put their hands on our children.
Yes.
Because nobody else is paying attention to that. And neither was I. And I was just thinking about when we were talking, and I'm like, son of a bitch, where do these people, and this is something that I wish I could get Rick on here. He tells it all the time. Where's the authority? Who gave you the authority? That's one of his biggest questions. And he's right. Mm-hmm. And then in looking, when I was scouring over it while you guys were talking, they have no authority. They have zero, zip, zilch. They have none to do what they're doing.
That's why I said you're going to love this stuff, especially in my case, when you're talking about motherfucker forged my shit to contract and then told her if she didn't cooperate to do this and that, that's called coercion or intimidation.
But even to begin with, who are these people that we're allowing to come in and start paperwork and make decisions on our parenting on the behalf of who?
Who is this person?
Who is this?
Why do they get to tell me what is good and what
is not? Who are these? Because Congress did not authorize these people to have authority over us in any stretch of the imagination. They did not give them any authority. Neither nor judges have given them authority. Nobody has given this crew of people the authority to come over us. So we need to start looking at that and start hammering away at that, because this goddamn
hammering them accountable, man. I mean, that's why Darren, that's one of the things too, is just like I said, the difference between picking and picking our battles. Like when we go for the big one, our very large case with all 50 cases, I don't want to wrap anything in my personal federal case to civil case. that's going to say you already got paid out on that on your previous case. You can't bring this up again type thing. Especially for like my state, because I know that's going to be a thing. Hey, we already went to court for this. No, this has to do with something completely different. And as you and I talked about, we're going to be in two separate courtrooms, but we're going to foreshadow and think ahead because we know they're bitches and they're going to try and punk out on something and say, oh, well, we already had this case. We already went. Yeah, you got your ass kicked. That's round one of the ass kicking. Now here's the national ass kicking to expose you to where everybody else can now and establish case law and sue the fuck out of every state and every person that's ever deal with this. And now there is no court here. And here's the other thing. All your states went incorporated, right? Look up, see whether or not your state's incorporated. But then there's a law, a federal law, that turns around in states. Matter of fact, I think I sent that to you, Darren. And I think I did it to Vinny too, is that no corporation has any authority over any individual or natural living person. So if you're a corporation in the state, you have no right to come after anybody for we the people just based off of that alone.
Yeah, I think Darren's on
listen, we may be separated, but my wife, listen, I'm gonna brag on my kids that I haven't seen in probably 2.5 years, my stepkids. She come back with this, and now I'm as you guys know, Gunner, first thing, I want to check that out. What's that look like? Top end of an M16 or on the foregrip right there with the top sights and everything. This thing's got adjustable. Look at that. That thing got adjustable sight. Damn thing's a coffee cup. That is the coolest damn thing I have ever seen. That somebody has took the time to CNC this cup. I'm just a gun nut or anything else, but I had to brag on my family and, like I said, my kids a little bit. That's just cool as fuck. I'm sorry, but Benny, we're gonna have to get you one of these or figure out what it is, and maybe even Darren. But yeah, I like to blow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, listen, man, look at that. I'm over here. I'm like, damn, I could put a light on this motherfucker because look, it's got pick rail. And I put a laser on that shit, and cop will wonder what kind of. Hey, I'm armed with my drink.
All right, guys, let's wrap this. We go to the 9 o'clock show. We'll do like 9:30. How do you about that? Give us a little break in between.
Yeah, that's work.
I'm gonna go look up some information on this, Vinny, because we're doing it. You on the same page with me here, right?
Yeah, I definitely am because I just actually because you said that I just fucking attacked both attorneys with it.
Yeah, it's as simple as filing their incorporation papers in court, finding out when they were incorporated, and that's public. That's a Freedom of Information Act. Can request it from
regardless, it doesn't matter. That doesn't do a damn thing for me as a citizen. They could be incorporated all the fuck they want. They have no right to take my kids or touch my kids.
But see, once again, if you were comfortable and our Second Amendment was stood on the way it should be instead of this misguiding of anything else, and we were actually trained of our true constitutional rights, those motherfuckers, as soon as they put past the threshold and go, no warrant, no court order, and there ain't no emergency, and you give them the opportunity, and with cameras, you need to call somebody. Why is there an emergency? No. Okay, fine. Blam.
Yep.
You need to come pick up a body of a breaking and entering. I don't care if it's got a badge, shield, or whatever it says it works for. It just entered my home illegally. Under the Constitution, that ain't murder. That's called self-defense and protection of my family.
Actually, we should also, since we're gonna do another show right after, we should do more like a 9:45 because I noticed last night that we started picking up more people right after 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm down with that.
We've got that late show thing, and I think there's that time delay with the different time zones and stuff. Even though we're on Eastern time, I think a lot of we're getting a lot of traffic from California and the West Coast because we're getting a lot of that lately, and I'm seeing a lot of that, and we're even reaching up into Canada too, is what I'm hearing also, Darren.
Yep.
Yes, sir. We've been hitting Canada for a minute there. We got Josie up there running behind the lines too. So she's running torrent. She's crazy up there.
Well, guys, Merry Christmas to y'all. Everybody out there, catch us on our later show. We're going to be a little bit later. Pass the word. TikTok, other social media platforms. We'll be on tonight. Let's get it out there. It's Christmas. A lot of people are home. Brenda's on Central Time, so we're reaching time zones. We'll just continue this conversation.
Love you, Brenda. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Brenda.
Out our whole family.
Sayonara. And don't forget to piss somebody off. Even though it's Christmas, piss them off real good with a little bit of facts and
Yeah,
knowledge. And
let's do this.
that's what we're here to do today. Have a
I'm
great
gonna
evening.
shrunk the screen. Hold on a minute. I'm gonna shrunk the screen. All right, here we go. There we go. Here you go, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you.
Our courts are contaminated with young, inexperienced caseworkers and polluted with bribes, high-priced bonuses for speedy adoption of terminated parents, and judges who don't practice law with the Constitution in their sights. This is a problem.
They take away the fathers, leaving just a mom and cubs. They know that with that out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division is what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation, making us aware of the problem. Stealing our kids, it's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again. CPS comes along with the mission to protect. The only thing they are doing is cashing in those checks, paid for by the souls of the children, diagnosed by a caseworker who is still a baby herself. They take away the fathers, leaving just the mom and cubs. They know that with that out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division, that's what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation, making us aware of the problem. Stealing our kids, it's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again.
All right, everybody. We'll see you at the later show tonight. I'm gonna put up the Carrie thing right now. I wanted to do this special remembrance for Carrie too, guys. For her family tonight. You know, our prayers are with her. I'm gonna do this prayer right here, real quick. Heavenly Father, we gather here today in a spirit of sorrow and longing, united in our shared grief for children who have been taken from us. We ask for your presence to surround each parent and loved one here, providing comfort in the midst of their pain. Lord, we seek your strength as we navigate the unimaginable journey. We lift our broken hearts to you, asking that you will fill us with your peace that surpasses all understanding. Help us to trust in your goodness, even when the world feels dark and uncertain. In this moment of anguish, we also come seeking the grace to forgive. We know that forgiveness is a difficult path, but we acknowledge the burden of anger and resentment can weigh heavy on our hearts. Teach us to release these feelings, not for the sake of those who have hurt us, but for our own healing. Help us to mirror your love and mercy, even in our pain. As we reflect on the importance of faith, we remember that it is our faith that sustains us in times of trial. Lord, we remind us that we are not alone. You walk with us in our darkest protection. Help us to lean on another as community, sharing our burdens and our supporting each other in prayer. We also come together to seek justice for our kidnapped children. We pray for swift action and unwavering commitment from those in position of authority. May justice prevail and may every effort be made to bring our children home safely. Empower us to advocate for change, to raise our voices for those who cannot speak, and to fight against the injustices that have caused us so much suffering. Finally, we lift up prayer for the kidnappers. Lord, we ask you that you soften their hearts and lead them to repentance. May they come to understand the pain they have caused and seek forgiveness. Transform their lives and turn them away from the path of harm, guiding them toward a way of peace and compassion. We ask all of this in your holy name. Amen. And yeah, guys, don't forget Gary's family. Make sure that they're there with you. Greg, you're with us all. Colton. Um, man, I can't believe she's gone, but she is. So, amen to all you guys. Have a good night.